Chapter 15 God of War. To Ares, in darts rejoicing, and in bloody wars, fierce and untamed, whose mighty power can make the strongest walls from their foundations shake, mortal-destroying king, defiled with gore, pleased with war's dreadful and tumultuous roar. Orpheus. Since the God of the Old Testament became an amalgamation of all the gods, Yahweh was, among other things, a god of war. He turned the Israelites into a ruthless war machine that spared neither women nor children as they conquered various city-states. The destroying angel of Yahweh killed all of the firstborn sons in Egypt except for those that had markings of blood on their door. To those of us that love peace, this God is appalling. But if we think of the whole of humanity as cells of the great God, maybe we can make some sense of the madness. For example, we have white blood cells that act as armies. They seek out other cells that they consider foreign and destroy them. We are glad the killing takes place because our overall body is more balanced. Antibiotics, as another example, kill undesired bacteria in an infected area, but they also kill the good bacteria. We justify the killing as the greater good. After all, what do a few thousand microscopic organisms mean to us? This may seem harsh, but of the countless galaxies in the universe, how significant are a few thousand humans on Earth? However, we love our healthy cells that allow us to see and breathe, etc. And God must feel similar toward those of us that make a positive impact on the world around us. There have been wars that resulted in the liberation of many oppressed people. The rebellious colonists in America won the Revolutionary War, which brought freedom from British taxes and freedom of religion. On the other hand, many wars have shed the blood of the innocent just to satisfy the gluttonous lust for power of tyrants. In World War II, a Christian U.S. soldier saw a German soldier searching for what he thought was a gun. He shot and killed the man as he was reaching for a Bible in his pocket. Brothers in faith, with families at home, killing each other just because a few madmen in charge told them to. During the Cold War, the leaders of the United States and Russia were eating dinner together while the people of their countries were living in fear of bombs falling on their schools. Abolition of slavery was a good thing, but it should not have taken so many lives to achieve. If there were a way to change undesired cells into healthy ones, rather than kill them, metaphorically speaking, we could have utopia, an Earth that is at peace without the need for war. Unfortunately, war has been the way of life for most humans, and the Bronze Age and Iron Ages were no exception. Therefore, people prayed and gave bloody sacrifices to the god of war to help them win their battles. In Greece, he was known as Ares, the god of barbaric warfare. Even Zeus did not care for his reckless killing, but as a spoiled son of the King of Heaven, Ares was allowed to continue without punishment. A Homeric hymn to Ares mentions his rule over the planet Mars and his personal flying vehicle. It says, "Sceptred king of manliness, who whirl your fiery sphere among the planets in their sevenfold courses, through the ether wherein your blazing steeds ever bear you above the third firmament of heaven." It sounds like the Grecians knew that Mars is the fourth planet from the sun, and that the Earth and planets are spherical back in 500 BCE. In Rome he was Mars, the second most important god next to Jupiter, which shows the emphasis on and importance of war to the Roman people. The Bhagavad Gita gives an alternative view of warfare. A noble warrior named Arjuna arrives at the battlefield and realizes that many of his close relatives will die on both sides of the conflict. He looks to his charioteer, who is actually Lord Krishna, and expresses his desire to save lives rather than destroy them. In so many words, Krishna tells Arjuna that it is his duty in life as a warrior to fight and not to worry about the people that will die, because the spirit does not perish, only the flesh. Krishna tells him that weapons reach not the life, flame burns it not, waters cannot overwhelm, nor dry winds wither it. Nay, but as when one layeth his worn-out robes away, and, taking new ones, saith, These will I wear today. So putteth by the Spirit lightly its garb of flesh, and passeth to inherit a residence afresh. Thou grievest where no grief should be. Star Wars. The war in the heavens was touched on in Chapter 1 with the Olympians versus the Titans, the Tuatha De Danann versus the Fomorians, the Azir versus the Jotuns, etc., etc. We continue with the Anunnaki who came from Nibiru after they won a battle with the serpent children of Tiamat. As stated earlier, wars have broken out between different factions in the heavens, and as always, the winning side gets to write history from their point of view. The bad guys may not have been as bad as we are told. However, no side is ever completely blameless in war. The ancient writings from India have some of the best descriptions that we have of the war in heaven. The multi-story ships that the gods used as they battled in the air are called Vimānas. The following excerpts of the Ramayana describe them thus. The Pushpaka Vimana that resembles the sun and belongs to my brother was brought by the powerful Ravana, that aerial and excellent Vimana, going everywhere at will. That chariot resembling a bright cloud in the sky, and the king, Rama, got it, and the excellent chariot at the command of the Rajira rose up into the higher atmosphere. The two main groups of gods that were at war were the Devas, good gods, and the Asuras, bad gods. Interestingly, these groups are switched in Persian writings. The Ahuras are the good guys, and the Devas are considered to be bad. The Tau goddess Nuwa brought order and repairs to the earth after the destructive battles between a serpent god and a sky god that took place in the heavens. The story is told among the indigenous people of Chile as the battle between the Piyan and the Wangulen. Antu, the king of the gods, defeated Peripiyan and sent him and his followers to the inner earth under the mountains. The story of good versus evil is played out in all cultures. Ancient cultures such as China, India, Egypt, and Mesoamerica used serpent imagery to symbolize their gods and earthly wisdom, while others like Persia, Greece, and Rome preferred the guidance of the sky god and used the eagle as the symbol of their deities. For these Western cultures, snakes represent the bad guys. The eagle and snake imagery continues in countries today on flags and seals. The flag of Mexico, for example, has an eagle killing a snake. The war may not yet be over. For Zoroastrians, the deities will battle the forces of Angra Mainyu until they triumph in the last days. For Christians, the war between angels and demons will continue until the end when Michael takes out Lucifer and his earthbound angels once and for all. The word demon actually comes from the same root as devil and daeva, which all mean divine. The words did not originally carry negative connotations, but were later demonized, pun intended. Asura, like the azure sky, meant day, sky, bright, and God, just as Deus. So what we really have is gods fighting gods. Mortality versus immortality of the gods. According to the myths, the gods war amongst themselves and can kill each other. Ea slays Kingu, Marduk destroys Tiamat, etc. Often, however, the gods are seen as immortal, and rather than kill, a god may choose to banish, lock up, or punish another god for a long time, as in the case with Zeus and the Titans. But the Olympians needed sustenance to stay alive. They had their ambrosia, or elixir of life, that kept them alive. The mortality of the gods is even more prevalent in Norse myth. When the golden apples of Idun were stolen from the Azir, they all began to grow old and would have perished had they not retrieved the apples. It was also prophesied that all the gods would die in a final war, and Thor would die from the poison of a serpent. Similarly, Hercules died from venom in his clothes, but Hercules was only half god and half mortal, human. Like Hercules, Jesus was a god on his dad's side and human on his mom's, so he was able to die. According to H. Spencer Lewis, Jesus was mostly dead, and his Essene Brotherhood brought him back to life in the sepulchre with their secret advanced therapeutics. Whether this is true or not, it is apparent that the gods can die. Their seeming immortality is due to advanced technology and science that genetically keeps the body from aging. However, if their head gets chopped off or their blood drained, the body of that god will perish. King Gilgamesh descended from the gods, but had only a fraction of divine blood. When his friend Enkidu died in war, Gilgamesh became concerned about his own mortality. So he sought out Utnapishtim, Noah, who had been given the gift of immortality from Enlil. Like Old Testament prophets that were translated, or legends of Cain and John the Beloved living till the end time, Utnapishtim was still alive, living as a hermit. He told Gilgamesh of a plant that would keep him alive. In ancient China, the science of prolonged life was symbolized by peaches of immortality. In India, the nectar of the gods is called Amrita. The world's myths always vary, but our ancestors knew that the gods had a means whereby they could keep themselves alive. Yet the gods are only immortal when it comes to dying of natural causes. The Mimamsa school of Hinduism states that the Devas were mere mortals whom the Supreme Being endowed with qualities similar to his own. According to Sri Swami Sachidananda, the gods are just human beings who have evolved a little further and learned to control nature, and by that control have earned the enjoyment of certain pleasures in the heavens. Scientists today are working on ways to manipulate the aging genes of our DNA. So why not assume that a highly advanced civilization has been able to achieve such genetic success? As a side note, many say, derogatorily, that we are playing God when we experiment with such things. I would contend that they are more right than they know, because as we grow in knowledge and experience, we are taking the steps in our evolution toward becoming gods. However, we should move forward in a humane and humble way, because we are bound to make mistakes. God of War. India, Manu, spirit, anger, is the god of war. He is associated with thunder. He became the Vedic god Rudra, the roarer, and destroyer of misery. The sons of Rudra are called the Rudras, aka the Maruts, which are violent lightning gods that fly in the sky. The Vedic god Rudra shares aspects of the later Hindu deities Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. In fact, one of Rudra's titles was Shiva, meaning kind. So Shaivites link Rudra with Shiva, and the Vaishyites link him with Vishnu. Mangala is the son of Shiva in some texts and the son of Vishnu in others. He is also called the god of war and of the planet Mars. His other names include Kartikeya, Skanda, and Kumara. Persia, Varathragna, enemy striker, is the Avestan god of war, virility, and the planet Mars. He is also called Bahram, and has been linked to Vishnu, Ares, and Mars. He drove away the destroying spirit, Angramanyu. The Sanskrit word Manu for spirit became Manu in Persia. Sumeria, Akkad, and Babylon. Nergal, god of war and the planet Mars, aka Ninib and Ninurta. He was a solar god of healing, the harvest, and the summer solstice, like Dumuzid, but he became known more for his weapons and warfare. Like Mithra, he is associated with the sun at noon. He has also been considered the god of Saturn and linked with the Assyrian god Ashur. But this is strange as he is the son of Enlil, Bel. He has also been linked to the biblical Nimrod, the mighty hunter. Arabia, Athtar. The Mesopotamian goddess of war, Ishtar, became the male god of war in southern Arabia. In northern Arabia, the war god was called Al-Qaum. Canaan, Attar. The Canaanites also worshipped a male version of Ishtar as their god of war. Mars and Venus are both morning and evening stars. Judea, Samael, venom god, is one of Yahweh's archangels. Some of his titles are Ha-Satan, accuser, and Mashit, destroyer. He is the angel of death and head of the Satans, accusers. He fathered Cain with Eve and is a consort of Lilith. The Zohar calls him Azazel. who taught mortals the art of weapon making. Hurrians, Aplu, bringer of disease, who got his name from Nergal as Aplu Enlil, meaning son of Enlil. Because Nergal was a solar deity, Aplu was as well. He became Aplu for the Etruscans, Apollyon for the Hittites, and Apollo for the Greeks. Turkey, Hittites, Wurukate, the god of war, also called Zababa, a name for Ninurta taken from the Akkadians. They got the theonym Hasameli from the Israelite name Samael. Slavic, Svetovid, god of war, fertility, and abundance, known as Shiezdre, Mars in Lithuanian. Greece, Ares, like Nergal, is a son of the Lord of Thunder and worshipped as a war god. Rome, Mars, god of war, son of the storm god Jupiter. Etruscan, Laron. He became known as Mars for the Romans. Like Nergal and his brother Ninurta, he is a war god that is associated with the underworld. Another similarity with his Mesopotamian counterpart is that he wields lightning bolts just like his father Tinia. Celtic, Lug, like Samael and Hasameli, is a craftsman and a warrior. Like Rudra and Larin, he is depicted with multiple faces. The Romans identified the Celtic god Camulos with their god Mars. The British city Camulodunum was named after him and thought to be Camelot from Arthurian legend. Norse, Tyr, son of Odin. The Romans equated him with Mars. He was called Ziu by southern Germanic tribes and Tiu by the Old English Germanic tribe of Saxons. He was a solar deity called Tiwaz in Luwian mythology. Tiwaz was shown with a winged solar disk just like Nergal. The etymology of his name goes back to the Proto-Indo-European Aryan word Dei, bright, which connects him to Zeus, Daius, Dionysus, and Jupiter. But as the stories of the gods traveled northwest to Iceland, aspects of this deity were divided between Odin and Tyr. Odin's son, Vidar, also bears similarities with Tyr. They both fight the wolf Fenrir. Egypt, Montu. He began as an aspect or emanation of the sun. As a solar deity of destruction, he became more known as the god of war. The Greeks linked him with Ares and Apollo. Nigeria, Yoruba, Ogun, the warrior god and metalworker. For the Igbo people, he is called Ikenga, the god of victory, strength, industry, farming, and metallurgy. His symbol is a ram, and his planet is Mars. Ghana, Akan, Tano, river god of war and strife. Peru, Inca, Vichama, god of death. He is a son of the solar god Inti. Yucatan, Maya, Toil, a sun, fire, lightning, rain, and war god that demanded human sacrifices from battle. Mexico, Aztec, Huitzilopochtli, solar deity of war and human sacrifice. Although many Aztec gods are war gods, he is the main god of war. North America, Winalagalis, the war god of the Kwakiutl tribe of present-day Vancouver. Mongolia, Kaizagan, a warrior god and a son of the sky god Kyra. Like many of the war gods, his symbols include ram horns and the color red. China, Taoism. Xuanwu, a powerful god of magic, revered by martial artists and prayed to by emperors in wartime. Japan, Shinto. Sarutahiko, the great god of the martial arts. Like Ares, he gets with the love goddess. Australia, Baraya. Like other war gods, his weapon of choice is a spear. Bobi Bobi is another god that gave the boomerang to humans and caused the first deaths on Earth. New Zealand, Maori, Tu, the main god of war. He started the war in heaven to let light in on creation. He is also called Tu Mata Uenga, angry face. Tu Ka Nguha, Tu the fierce fighter. Tu Kai Tangata, Tu who destroys mankind. And Tu Kai Taua, Tu the destroyer of armies. Hawaii, Ku, like his Maori counterpart too, is one of the sons of earth and sky, and is the god of war, hunting, fishing, and food cultivation. He is the only god that Hawaiians would sacrifice humans to.